13 minutes after a Lion Air 737 MAX plane took off from Jakarta, Indonesia in October 2018, it crashed into the sea, killing all 189 people on board. 5 months later, an Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX crashed just 6 minutes after takeoff, killing 157 people. There is renewed scrutiny of Boeing, the company that makes the 737 MAX, after subsequent safety incidents, including a mid-air cabin panel blowout on an Alaskan Airlines flight in January 2024. Here's a timeline of events in Boeing's 737 MAX crisis. In March 2017, the 737 MAX gains U.S. Federal Aviation Administration certification. Just over a year later, Lion Air Flight 610 crashes into the Java Sea, killing all on board. In November, the FAA and Boeing say they are evaluating software or design changes to the 737 MAX jets following the crash. On March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashes in the desert around 6 minutes after takeoff, killing 157 people on board. Days later, the FAA and other global regulators ground the 737 MAX, citing evidence of similarities between the two fatal crashes. By April, the FAA says it is forming an international safety review team.
We at Boeing are sorry for the lives lost in the recent 737 MAX accidents.
Boeing cuts MAX production by 20%. In May, it's revealed that Boeing did not tell U.S. regulators for more than a year that it inadvertently made an alarm alerting pilots to a mismatch of flight data optional on the 737 MAX, instead of standard as on earlier 737s. In October, Boeing fires the top executive of its commercial airplanes division, the first high-level departure since the two fatal crashes. That December, Boeing announces it will suspend 737 MAX production in January and fires CEO Dennis Muilenburg. In March 2020, Ethiopian investigators single out faulty systems on a 737 MAX plane in an interim report on the crash. And in May, Boeing says it has resumed redesigned 737 MAX production at a low rate. By July 2020, Boeing reaches settlement agreements in more than 90% of the wrongful death claims filed in federal court after the 2018 Lion Air crash.
The Boeing 737 MAX crash has killed my wife, my 3 children.
An investigation by a U.S. House of Representatives panel in September finds Boeing failed in its design and development of the MAX, as well as its transparency with the FAA, and that the FAA failed in its oversight and certification. In November, the grounding order is lifted. Now, more than 2 years after the Lion Air crash, Boeing agrees with the DOJ to pay $2.5 billion to resolve a criminal investigation into the company's conduct. The agreement includes money for victims' relatives and requires Boeing to overhaul its compliance practices. In April, Boeing halts 737 MAX deliveries after electrical problems reground part of the fleet. By November, current and former Boeing company directors reach a $237.5 million settlement with shareholders to settle lawsuits over safety oversight of the 737 MAX. In April, Boeing pauses deliveries of some 737 MAXes to deal with a new supplier quality problem involving non-compliant fittings. And then in August, Boeing identifies a new 737 MAX supplier quality problem involving improperly drilled holes on the aft pressure bulkhead. A mid-air cabin panel blowout compels an Alaska Airlines flight to perform an emergency landing of its recently acquired 737 MAX 9 aircraft in January 2024, prompting the FAA to ground 171 of the jets and initiate an investigation. A preliminary report by the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board finds the door panel appeared to be missing 4 key bolts. In March, the FAA's 737 MAX production audit finds multiple instances where Boeing and Spirit AeroSystems allegedly failed to comply with quality control requirements. By April, Boeing is hit with further whistleblower claims, alleging the company dismissed safety and quality concerns in the production of 787 and 777 jets. Testimony at the U.S. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations hearing raises questions about Boeing's treatment of whistleblowers, the Alaska Airlines incident, and production concerns. In May, 737 MAX crash victims' families press U.S. officials to criminally prosecute the manufacturer. Also in May, the U.S. Justice Department says that Boeing had breached its obligations under a 2021 agreement that kept the Planemaker from criminal prosecution on a charge of conspiring to defraud the U.S. FAA over the crashes in 2018 and 2019. Boeing did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but has said it believes it honored the terms of the agreement. The finding raises the prospect that Boeing could face a criminal prosecution it had previously avoided.